A while ago I bought the Nightmare. I planned to use the ship for gate camps, and of course I planned to use the ship to crash gate camps. But in the end, after playing around with the ship in that aspect, I found out that the Balagorn eventually is still the better choice. I believe it's because the Balagorn has a little bit more DPS and overall has better bonuses for PvP. Now the Nightmare has a roll bonus that can give it shield field modules, basically the modules that you can find on Guardian ships. Pretty useful, it gives a lot of extra resistance. Advanced large laser operation bonus per level will give you plus 12% large laser damage, plus 7.5% large laser tracking speed, and the advanced battleship command bonus per level will give you plus 30% afterburner speed increase and plus 5% shield. So the Nightmare is one of the only battleships that has a bonus on afterburners. It's actually a very speedy ship. Now the Nightmare has 2 drones, 6 high slots, 3 medium slots, 7 low slots, 3 combat and 3 engineering rigs. Nightmare is the tankiest faction battleship currently available in the game. It has a pretty decent capacitor. Overall the Nightmare is mainly and primarily a shield tank. Please don't use a armor tank on the Nightmare, it will not end well. And I have seen a lot of armor tank Nightmares throughout my PvP history. Now the capacitors, as I mentioned, are pretty good. The recharge rate is overall pretty good. Very similar stats to Amar ships. It can lock 7 targets, 294 meters signature radius, 101 meter scan radius, and the strength 31.8. The Nightmare's warp speed is average, although it's one of the faster ships with afterburners because it has that nice 30% per level bonus that works quite well. Alright, well, now on to the builds. Currently I have 1212.07 DPS on the Nightmare. It's pretty good. I have large pulse lasers installed. They have 31.5 kilometer range, 6.75 kilometer accuracy fall-off. Overall pretty good alpha. Decent range, should be able to hit most targets. I also use a Nosferatu Scrambler and a shield field module. You can also use the beam lasers on this ship. They have 60 kilometer optimal range, accuracy fall-off at 21.6 kilometers. Overall they have a little bit less tracking, but they have a little bit more range. The alpha damage on both is quite similar. Now the shield field module, this is the small one. You can fit the medium or large one if you need them. 7.5 kilometer optimal range. It gives a 5000% bonus on signature radius, and it gives 41% resistance to all damage types. So if you use this module, your signature radius will increase quite a bit and you will be a very big target. So that's one of the drawbacks for the shield field module. These are the base resistances on this ship. They look pretty good. 114,000 shield. I use full tank integration rigs. Here you can take a look at the integrations. This is, I believe, one of the better builds for the Nightmare. The Nightmare is usually fitted with armor plates, although not with armor plates, but with shield extenders. My apologies. However, you can also use an active tank if you like. I have 4 shield extenders here that give a pretty decent shield boost, and of course 4 of them means that you can cycle them one by one, and that's a very interesting and good tactic. Now if you have capacitor problems, then you can swap one extender into a capacitor battery. Should last long enough. The capacitor is stable, so a capacitor battery is also a pretty interesting idea. Although Nightmares are usually fleet ships and you usually have capacitor support from other support ships in the fleet. With the 4 extenders, the capacitor is just a little bit less stable, although it's still pretty good. The one Nosferatu is more than enough to keep the capacitor of this ship up and running. Now you can also swap the extender into a afterburner because the ship does have the bonus on afterburners, but the afterburner is optional. Depends from the need. If you want to use the ship to get to a position very quickly, then afterburner is pretty good. But if you are just going to be a guardian in the nightmare, then an afterburner isn't quite necessary. But again, it's good to take advantage of all the ship bonuses. 319,000 in shield with 3 extenders. Overall, pretty good. Now this is my not my favorite build, but you can also make the nightmare a active tank. Dual large shield boosters, 3 adaptives, 1 capacitor battery, and 1 afterburner. I have seen this build used to be used in the faction war games, although I personally prefer to use the extender build. Extenders work pretty good for PvP, while shield boosters work pretty well for PvE, although you can also use shield extenders for PvE, although that might be kinda weird because you cannot actively regenerate your shield. And of course, for active shield tank, I would replace 1 rig, and I would make the integrations work with shield boosting. That means I would improve the shield boost per cycle on the nightmare instead of the shield volume, although having a lot of shield is still pretty good. Also one of the advantages of this ship, because it has the 5% bonus per skill level. Alright, well, let's take a look at the active stats and velocity on the nightmare. So everything is up and running. Now with this build, dual adaptives, 1 capacitor battery, and afterburner, I have almost 1 million effective hit points. I will break that to over 1 million very soon. Now the capacitor, as expected, is quite stable, even with the afterburner up and running. That's a big signature radius, 15 kilometers. That's a huge ship, quite a big target for capital ships. I believe a Phoenix would be a problem at this signature, but again, you are moving 1.1 kilometer per second with the afterburner, so I believe you can outrun the missiles on a capital ship, although not quite sure how the Raven Striker would do against this ship. Now back on a more normal build, 3 adaptives, 1 shield field module, and 4 extenders. Let's see the effective hit points. Oh, that looks good. Okay, that looks good. And keep in mind, this is without the nanocore. With a nanocore, I would be able to get that up to 1.5 million with ease. So that's a good number. I like the tankiness of this nightmare. It looks pretty good. It's a very interesting chunk, although unfortunately I haven't had that much chance to use it for gate camps. 4717 shield from the extender when you activate it, which is good. Again, you can cycle them all. Now don't activate them all at once. I did something very unprofessional here. I turned on all extenders at once. Don't do that. You should be able to cycle them one by one. That way your shield will be at 100% or around 100% most of the time. It will be 100% if you have a logistic cruiser or battle cruiser around you. Now with the active build, 620,000 hit points, which is okay. The resistances are also looking pretty good. This is a build that I would probably use if I were to do a mission, or I guess an encounter. But my encounter or mission ship is the Macariel. Well, let's take a spin with the Nightmare. Later on I will do the new faction war games with this ship, just to see how it works over there. Now the Nightmare has overall pretty decent tracking, and without the shield field module you can actually speed tank missions in this ship. although the shield field module is definitely very good at giving you extra resistances, although you will not be able to speed tank anything with that module active, because, well, your signature is 15 kilometers. That's quite a big signature, and I believe most ships will be able to easily hit that. Now, they will be doing little damage, that's a fact, but they will be still hitting you. However, if you would replace the shield field module into something else, like a web or scrambler, then you would be able to speed tank most missions without a problem, although you will be orbiting at 30 kilometers to be within the optimal range of the large lasers. Now, the one downside of the ship is that it has only 3 medium slots. You don't have a lot of choice to fit on this ship, really. For most builds that I have used this ship, the shield field module did work quite well. Haven't had a problem with it. I remember a couple months ago, the game was bugged. It had the shield field module give you extra 5000% damage, and needless to say, on that day, a lot of these ships did get destroyed by very silly circumstances. That was back when I did fly my Phantasm. That is actually my first faction ship that I've lost in a mission. And ever since then, I don't remember blowing up another faction ship in any mission. Kinda learned from my expensive mistake. Was quite a expensive Phantasm. 4.5 billion, I believe. Something like that. Now, the one problem that you might encounter with the Nightmare: small ships, especially frigates, can easily go below your lasers. Basically, the tracking cannot keep up with small ships at very close range. And I find that range to be within 10 kilometers. Below 10 kilometers, you really have to have a scrambler or dual webs to hold a fast-moving frigate. Cruisers, battle cruisers, and battleships are not a problem, but frigates can be a problem. Now, most frigates are not going to be a threat to a Nightmare, because the Nightmare can tank whole fleets. The Nightmare can tank capital ships, it can tank a lot of things, so one frigate will not be representing danger to a Nightmare, unless the Nightmare has been caught AFK or logged out in space. Then a frigate can kill you. It will take a while, but in that case, the frigate can kill you. Now, as for the missions here, well, honestly, the DPS on this ship isn't the best. I have a friend that has the Nightmare, and he has still a better tank, and he still has a better DPS, so you can get the Nightmare up to 2000 DPS, which is okay, although it's not much compared to the other faction battleships. Makaril or Vindicator are better PvE ships, but they're not better tanking ships. The Nightmare has a very unique and specific role. Corps and alliances use this ship for large-scale fights. They are basically battleship guardians that can take a lot of damage, usually accompanied by a lot of logistics, so that the logistics can supply the Nightmare with capacitor, shields, and of course things like that. And of course you can also add a couple command ships that further improve the bonuses and stats of the ships. Well, they don't improve the bonus, but they definitely improve the parameters of weapons and modules. Well then, this mission did take a while. The DPS on this thing, like I said, not the best, although the DPS is not the main thing on the Nightmare. The main thing on this ship is the insane tank and the insane damage that it can take. The second most tankiest faction battleship is the Rattlesnake, and I kinda did not like the Rattlesnake when I think about it, because of the large drone only bonus. It's good against big ships, but against small ships like cruisers, frigates, it's not going to be very effective. I destroyed a lot of Rattlesnakes with my Ortus, so basically my favorite faction battleship to hunt. Admittedly, I've seen a lot of Rattlesnakes with Warp Core stabs and Death Wish nanocores, so I guess that's their main protection. Now, let's play some faction wargames with the good old Nightmare. In this case, I have the quad shield extender build that I am really starting to like. Let me adjust the modules. Alright, everything is in place. Alright. Well then, let the games begin. We have a interesting fleet composition as well as our opponents. They also have a Nightmare and a Rattlesnake and an Apocalypse Striker. Alright. Well, first shield extender up and running. Let's approach the central beacon there. Now, when you are within a shield field bubble, then all damage that all ships are taking will be transferred to the Nightmare. So that's how the Nightmares protect the team from incoming damage with the shield field bubble. The same thing works with Armor Guardians as well. Although personally I believe shield might be still a little bit better. However, armor tanks and armor guardians also have a very nice use. Okay, well, let's keep on approaching. That Nightmare has a nanocore. This Nightmare that I'm flying doesn't have a nanocore, so they might have a advantage at the moment. And it looks like this Nightmare is a active tank, while the one that I'm flying is using shield extenders. I've started to really like shield extenders. Armor plates also work quite well, although for some reason I still kinda like my Balgorn to use active armor. If the armor plates would replace the damage taken, if they would repair the damage once the effect has stopped, then I believe I would totally switch to armor plates. But because they don't, I have to use active armor for the Balgorn for the most case. Well, the Apocalypse Striker did get out of the bubble, and as you can see now, the Apocalypse is taking some damage. Apocalypse now in hull. Looks like the Apocalypse did go back in the bubble just on time. That's one lucky Apocalypse. We didn't focus the Apocalypse on time, unfortunately, but that's fine, it happens. Apocalypse still taking some hits. Now they are at 50% hull. Interesting. Looks like the Apocalypse is going down. Last bit of hull left. Not quite sure what happened on the other team, but that Apocalypse made a small mistake. Alright, well, Apocalypse has been destroyed. Not bad. It was a lucky kill. Not sure what happened there. Okay, now the effect of the shield field bubble only works if you are shooting, if your team is getting shot by ships outside of the bubble. If you have ships or drones within the bubble that are shooting at your ships in the fleet, then the bubble will not work, then your teammates will take damage. So because of that, I'm trying to shoot down the larger drones that the Rattlesnake has sent on our Megatron Striker. And surprisingly, I'm able to hit and track the large drones. Honestly, did not expect to be able to hit them, but looks like I am hitting them. I am cycling through the shield extenders. So far works quite well, my shield quite stable. From time to time I do forget to use the shield extenders because I get carried away by other things, but in general everything seems to be working quite well. Nightmare is taking damage slowly. I'm trying to shoot down the drones. One drone is going down. The Rattlesnake has some very good bonuses, but unfortunately only on large drones. And that's another thing that is also in EVE Online. Basically they have the same bonuses. Faction ships in this game have the same skill per level bonuses as ships in EVE Online, so I guess it is kinda to be expected that the Rattlesnake only has large drone bonus, but that is kinda also a problem, because medium drones and small drones don't work very well on a Rattlesnake. Now here you can see the difference between a extended Nightmare and a active shield Nightmare. The shield on the other Nightmare is falling down, while my shield is very stable. And that's why I guess people really prefer extenders over boosters. I mean, you can make a pretty good active tank, but it takes quite a bit of patience, it takes quite a bit of rigs and things like that. And extenders just, in the end, give more hit points and overall work better in this case. Although, I have to say, my Balgon with active tank works quite well. It's armor, but it works quite well. I'm happy with it. Can also improve it, and I'm still kind of working on that. The Balgon did receive a big upgrade in the last couple days. So at the moment it's around 40% more tanky than before. That goes from 350,000 hit points to, I believe I'm at 400,000, I don't know, something along those numbers. Haven't memorized that, unfortunately. Well, yikes, that is not looking good for us. We lost the main DPS ship of our fleet. Now the Nightmare can most likely tank our DPS. Never underestimate any Nightmare. So unfortunately our main DPS ship did go down just before the Nightmare was about to lose its shields. So that was also kinda my fault. Haven't been destroying the large drones on time, and well, that's what caused that to happen. Or maybe I should have just focused on the Nightmare in the first place. Maybe it would be dead by now. Now when I think about it, I should have shot at the Nightmare, not at the drones. Well, a little bit later we are still fighting, orbiting around the central beacon. Time is also running out, so let's see who's going to be the last one standing here. As you can see, the Nightmare did boost its shield to 100%. Wasn't able to break the tank on that one. The Rattlesnake is also super tanky, so we're not breaking the tank on that one as well. The Rattlesnake is also using a shield extender build, which works quite well. Okay, the zone is now going to shrink to 0. Couple seconds left. Who's going to be who's going to be in the last ones? Oh man, who's going to be the last one standing? Yep, my throat is giving up. Oh man, probably will need some water after this. And the zone is at 0. I have been caught outside. We're all outside of the zone now. My extenders are not working. And well, that was a fail. And I believe I'm the one to be blamed for this fail because I haven't been shooting at the nightmare. Instead I was shooting at the drones. But in any case, that was a fun fight and overall fun experience with the nightmare. Well then, hope that you enjoyed. Hope that the builds and fits that I have shown here help you in the game. And of course, tell me any recommendations and other feedback. I will be more than happy to read everything. And with that being said, hope that you enjoyed. Stay safe, fly safe, and I'll see you next time.